Hello and welcome to Skochy TV, Skochy Radio if you're listening on the podcast for another episode of Skochy's blog post read-through. I'm Skochy and this is where we read through the latest blog post from my blog, from 0 to 5 zeros, chronicling my experiments in selling, marketing, business, love, success, life, my fails, and of course my wins on the way to that 5-0 monthly income. We're live today through Facebook Live, you can watch us on YouTube, you can get the podcast, you can read the article on the blog. But whatever you do, don't miss an episode. Hi, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. This is Skochy's blog post read-through. And this is where we take the most recent blog post and have a casual, laid-back read-through of the article. That's what this is about. The premise is that some people like to watch videos as opposed to read and listen, hence the Facebook Live and YouTube video. It's much more interesting to watch me read through it like this than reading it verbatim, word for word from a screen, without expression. You've got obviously the actual blog post written version itself on the website, which you can read. That's where all the goodies are. And then you have the podcast version, which is essentially this video without my ugly face on it. It's just the audio version, okay? So make sure you subscribe to the blog, okay? Subscribe to the YouTube channel and subscribe to the podcast. Like the Facebook page so you'll get notified every time one of these is going to be happening, one of these live videos. And today's article is called, I haven't actually named the article because although it's written, I'm flying out back to England in a few hours, so everything is a bit of a rush today, so I'll have to read it through today, and then when you go back and look at it on the website, then you'll see the blog post title there. So for the meantime, there's no title, it's titleless. Okay, it's the first episode from the Monalcho Value System Primer series, which is essentially, it's a series of articles that I've put together to explain to you what this whole thing is about, the whole Monalcho system, what it's all about. So today's article is essentially, it's an overview of the program and the system. Okay, and then from this point on we would then go deeper and deeper until it makes complete sense and it starts helping you to fix the problems that you've got. Okay, so I've got my cup of tea. I'm ready to go, so sit back, join me for a cuppa, and let's drink to prosperity. Okay, so I always have a disclaimer on my articles, and at this point I would normally read that disclaimer, so if you want to head over to the blog post, then have a quick read of that. That will make more sense. It's essentially saying that everything I say is my own philosophy, it's my own point of view. I'm not saying it's the truth or things that you should do, and if you don't do, you'll struggle. It's just my complete and utter philosophy of life that I believe can help you, hence I'm sharing it with you today. So it's more eloquent than that on the blog post, so I would say go to the blog post, have a quick read of that, and it will make more sense to you. Okay, now I'm going to read through the article, and I've got it on my laptop here. So I'll be going from this to you, from this to da-da-da-da, so forgive me if I don't have eye contact the whole time. I'm just going to read it through. Okay, so it happened to me, sat outside the trendy Rose and Crown pub in leafy Warwick. I was drained. I just poured my heart out to my friend, laying out my entire philosophy. And then she said the thing that changed my mind. Suddenly, I was invigorated. What did she say to me exactly? We must have been talking for hours. I must have been talking for hours. She'd just been listening patiently. It was the first time I'd verbalised my philosophy. Up until that point, it had just been scribbled on scraps of paper, documented on feverishly typed online files, and graffitied on the walls of my mind. But today, it was time to release the beast. So I did, and it felt good. It felt good to share this with another human being, to find out if I was actually crazy or not for having these thoughts. Ideas become different animals when they're verbalised, don't they? Thoughts are suddenly exposed for criticism. Private opinions are open for debate. My philosophy had finally been laid bare. On the contrary, though, my friend was amazed and impressed with everything I'd said, and it was at this point as I paused and gasped for air, that she told me what would start a chain reaction, a snowball that couldn't be stopped. She said, "You should share that with other people." Such innocent words, but by saying that, she'd inadvertently plonked a humongous stack of figurative work onto my mental desk. And now the real work really would begin. So what is this philosophy I'm talking about exactly? Okay, if you can hear talking in the background, that's just Jem. She's doing an English class right now. She's teaching. We teach Eastern kids, Far Eastern kids, English online. It's very fun, very rewarding, and that's what she's doing right now. So if you can hear her talking in the background, that's what she's doing. Okay, so that's the intro. Okay, we continue. How many self-help books, videos, seminars, etc., would you say you've consumed? Would it be 10? Would it be 20? Are we talking dozens, hundreds? If you're anything like me, it's probably more like hundreds. And how many self-help materials do you think you've actually been helped by in the way that you wanted them to help you? How many stuck with you? How many were useful beyond killing a few hours downtime? And I want you to think about that. Think about how many self-development, self-help books in your time you've read, videos that you've watched, audios that you listen to, and really think that what good have they actually done besides, a good read or a good sort of couple hours video watching time? What good have they actually done? If you read my last post, you'll remember I spoke about the problem with self-help material today. It's all very generic, holistic, and tries to fix a problem without first finding out what that problem is. It's like a doctor prescribing medicine without first diagnosing the ailment. The problem is that no personal challenges are created equal, and with it, one man's challenges are another man's meat and drink. So the generic feel-good advice given in these books and videos is pretty much useless. I guess if it's motivational, then sometimes it can give you the needed momentum to move past a problem with enthusiasm alone, but this will only get you so far. The point here is that, yes, it's good to read self-development books. I still read things like Think and Grow Rich. I read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, The Greatest Salesman in the World, As a Man Thinketh, etc., etc. They're great books, but for me, the purpose they serve is to kind of give me a pump of enthusiasm and energy for a time. And if you read them on a consistent basis, they can have that effect. It can carry you through. But they don't really fix problems. They can. It's not that they're band-aids. It's more that they're just sort of feel-good tablets that you take, but they don't really fix problems. And that's what I'm going to be talking about now. After years of voraciously consuming one self-help volume after the next, with the net result my feeling jaded, I sensed this and I reasoned I was wasting my time. And this is what led me to creating my philosophy. Allow me to explain. Okay, we'll have a sip of my tea here. This is vanilla and caramel. No, honey and caramel, I think. It's nice. Jeez. The wind's picking up here. Living in Crete at the moment, and it's a very windy island. Every 10 days or so you get about 2 or 3 days of quite hard wind. Okay. Before I go any further, you must know that the point of me sharing all of this is because I believe it will help you. And if it helps you in any way near the way it helps me, then I've achieved what I set out to do. As I said to you, this article, it's not complete, it's just it's still in the first draft stage, but because I'm flying home today, I wanted to read it to you here in my home. So I'm just going to stop and edit things as I go, okay? Then I've achieved what I set out to do. Okay, fixing my own mistakes here. Many of these self-development materials I devoured build their philosophy on splitting yourself, your energy, into different areas. Usually it's mental, financial, emotional, spiritual, material, social, etc., which is fine. But this didn't sit right with me, and it didn't fit with the philosophy I was developing at the time. Why devote a part of your life to material stuff? Why isolate things in this area into a separate category, as if it's a guilty pleasure that shouldn't be associated with the deeper spiritual or emotional sides. My point here is that a lot of materials, they tell you to make a list of your different goals that you want in life, and one of those categories is material goals, things that you want to buy. It could be boats, it could be cars, it could be bikes, any kind of toys and stuff. But it's normally on a different list, a material list, and that never really sat right with me, because for me these things are not simply, they're not just material things. They actually can add value to you. It's how you look at these things. You can put them to a category of material thing. Okay, that's your material side, something that you should be a little bit ashamed of perhaps. But to me, it's not a thing to be ashamed of. It's a natural drive within us to want some of these things, and it doesn't do any harm. So for me, to put them into a separate category, it didn't work, and that's what the point I'm making here. Okay. The same with financial goals. So why are they a separate category? Surely they are incidental to your career or profession. Again, financial goals, normally speaking about money, the amount of money that you want to earn, financial goal targets, money that you want to save, invest, etc., etc. And again, for me, I didn't like the fact that these were put into, generally they're put into separate categories, as if that's money stuff, you know. It's a bit taboo, but hey, let's have it there in the background. But no, to me, it's fine, because as long as you're living in a prosperous way and you're doing good things with that money, it's fine to have that in the same category as other things. So this is all going to make much more sense as the further we go. I'm not saying that what came before me was wrong and what I have is the truth, far from it. My philosophy is just a very different way of looking at things, and I wouldn't be sharing it with you if it hadn't completely turned my life around. Stay with me. Remember when I said in the last article how I'd been trying to become successful for 10 plus years but was no nearer. I think it was my lack of success that drove me to start explaining myself, to see what was wrong with me. Why were other people achieving success so much quicker? What was wrong with me? And my introspection led to deeper philosophical thoughts, which led to complete analyses of myself, which led me to discovering what was wrong with me. I'll get to this later. So after some long months of introspection, I started to put all my thoughts in order. And what I ended up with was what I now call the Monaltro value system. And the concept, and that will make sense again later on, and the concept is that everything in man's life can be neatly placed into one of 4 quadrants. And the idea is that as men, we should be constantly leveling up these 4 quadrants, as well as keeping them balanced to achieve the tasty goodness that life has to offer. I made a note here. I think I should give a hat tip to Stephen Covey and his classic, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People here. I'm not sure, but I think this may have been where I got my inspiration for the quadrant thinking. And he talks about emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical goals. Not quite how my quadrants are labelled, as I didn't think was accurate for my quadrant concept, but it was certainly an inspiration. Not only that, but his whole planning and self-development curriculum was a massive influence on me. You can get his book by clicking here on the blog. Although it's off topic here, it is a very good book on planning, managing your time. It will give you the background of what my system is influenced from. So my point there is that the book, you've probably heard of it, if you're in the sort of the sales, marketing, business circles, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Read it many times, and it was a big inspiration for me. He talks about managing your time effectiveness, and he uses a quadrant concept for himself. He puts different tasks and things that need to be done in these different 4 quadrants, and you'll know what I'm talking about if you've read the book. So that's where I think I may have got the quadrant concept from that point, although that's the only common ground there. And also he talks a lot about planning your time and then planning these things that have to be done in different sections and different categories in your week, which again was massive influence to me. It's exactly what I do with my time. I use Google Calendar, and it's all linked with this whole system, and again we will get to that a lot further down the line. So just wanted to say that book was a big inspiration to me, and definitely worth getting. Where are we? Anyway, let me give a very quick overview of these quadrants before I go into further detail below. First, there's the emotional quadrant. This is the driver of everything, the passionate, desire-seeking, goal-driven, carnal animal. Then there's the mental quadrant, which is the cool, rational head of operations, the ultimate decision maker of everything the emotional quadrant says it wants. Next up is the physical quadrant, the vehicle that carries us around. Without this, we can't go anywhere or do the things the emotional quadrant wants to do, that the mental quadrant has permitted. This is why we look after it. Finally, there's the socio-emotional quadrant. As human beings, we are social animals, and true happiness lies in connecting with others. This is the quadrant that makes that happen. When I organise my thoughts and ideas in this way, it just seemed to fit so nicely, and that's the truth. Further than this, each quadrant is made up of 6 virtues, and that's 6 virtues in each quadrant, and each virtue is comprised of modules and elements, and these elements and modules can be rated out of 10. By rating these elements and modules out of 10, you get an overall score out of 10 for that virtue, which then gives you a rating out of 10 for that quadrant, which then ultimately gives you a master rating out of 10, which we call your value score. And the philosophy is that, editing as I go here, the philosophy is that value score is that your value score is very telling, in that it effectively rates you out of 10. We'll put rates you out of 10 as in there. And of course, the higher that rating, the better your life. It sounds pretty cold, yes, but that's why I feel it's so important. Nothing out there does this. Every other self-development resource just dances around the problem, gives you a bunch of generic advice and a handful of platitudes, and sends you on your way. It's like I said before, the system and philosophy. This system of philosophy gives you an actual diagnosis that you can use to finally realise why you are where you are, and a score that reveals why you're getting what you've been getting all these years. Imagine what you could do with that information. Just know that it will be revealing once you rate yourself for the first time. You may not be happy with what you find. You may even be upset initially, but with this information you can finally start to address the deep-rooted problems that have stunted your progress in life. Because the higher the score, the better the life. I'm just going to have a sip of my tea. I hope that makes sense to you. So what I'm essentially saying is that the you can be split into 4 quadrants, and within each of those 4 quadrants there are 6 virtues, and within each of those virtues there are elements and modules, things that you do in your life, things that you can do to improve that virtue, which improves the quadrant, which improves your total value. Okay. And when I analysed myself for the first time based on this philosophy, when I scored myself for the first time, let's just say it was pretty sobering for me. I came out as a 3 out of 10. Ouch, imagine that. So we're going back years now. This is when I first came up with this system, and I first sat down and I worked it out and I scored myself. I was a 3 out of 10 at the time. I'd been carrying on down the same road for over 10 years, expecting things to get better for me without ever knowing why I was failing. But to finally discover where I was weak and why I'd been failing for so long, wow, this gave me the answers I'd been looking for. And you will find the same when you come to scoring yourself for the first time. But for now, let's dive into these 4 quadrants and make some sense of this. How are we doing for time? We're about halfway. I'm going to have to start speaking quicker because I've got a lot to get through. Then later I'll give you the tool based on the system that I use myself that will finally lift the lid on where you're blocked. And this will give you the vision to fix these weak areas and finally begin moving forward with your life. So, next section we'll start with the first quadrant is the emotional quadrant. And there's a reason why it's the first quadrant. The emotional quadrant is the passionate, red, deep-driven quadrant. It's the quadrant with the fire under the belly. It's your deep-seated, most wanted goals, passions, hobbies, and desires. Well, they're not sexual desires, that's another quadrant. It's the animal in you. It's the kid screaming at the top of his lungs what he wants most and will do anything to get. Left to his own devices, it's the quadrant that wants for nothing and to hell with the consequences. The kid in the sweet shop, the bull in the china shop, call it what you will, this quadrant doesn't care. This quadrant isn't paid to care, that's another quadrant's job. This quadrant is be paid to dream, and that's all he do. Let loose, daydream, dream as if you live forever, live as if you'll die today. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail, and all that jazz. This is the quadrant tasked with finding and living your purpose. Very important. Living with passion, travel and adventure, laughing out loud. It's all here. It's also the quadrant involved with anything relaxation and taking it easy. Putting your feet up and taking it all in. Calmness, creativity, meditation, feeling free, anything that's good for the soul. Anything close to the heart is this quadrant's domain. To be more precise, it deals with things like making money, doing what you love, living your dream lifestyle, energizing your life with hobbies and fun stuff, developing a joyful life, all the old favourites. And these are all things that this quadrant rates you on. And if you're not strong in these areas, it gives you ways to fix them. But put this reckless quadrant in the driver's seat and wave goodbye to all you hold dear, because a driver, this quadrant ain't. So we move on to the next section, the next quadrant. The mental quadrant is the driver. That's right, while the emotional quadrant is saying, I want to do this and I want to do that, the mental quadrant is the one weighing it all up to see what's feasible before saying yes or no. Yes, sir, the mental quadrant is the cool-headed blue decision-making quadrant. It's the calm, under pressure, rational member that every team needs. Without the mental quadrant to oversee things and make the final decisions, the emotional quadrant would see to it that everything ended in chaos. The mental quadrant is the manager, the boss, the captain. So whereas the emotional quadrant takes care of the exciting and fun stuff to do, the mental quadrant is the one tasked with self-improvement. It's the skills quadrant, where most of the things that need to be worked on to be able to achieve in life what you want will be improved and fixed. The mind is a muscle, remember, and it needs as much exercise as the body. Just different exercise. So the mental quadrant deals with growing things like self-esteem, self-confidence, self-discipline, and anything related to how you feel about yourself. It increases your leadership skills and likability by improving your assertiveness, social intelligence, integrity, communication skills, your charisma and your wit. It's the brain workshop that exercises your brain power to sharpen your memory, your powers of logical deduction and lateral thinking, your sense of reason and wisdom, and has the responsibility of moulding your philosophy. It takes care of anything finance, profession and business related by increasing your business acumen and your money management skills, and it teaches you how to sell and how to market. And it deals with survival skills, not always needed in today's world, but nonetheless, they are skills that every man would benefit from. More specifically, it will teach you things like how to drastically increase your income, how to inspire people to follow you, how to develop unstoppable confidence, how to get more done, and loads more. Between them, the emotional and mental quadrants will discover what you want most in your life, at the same time as making it possible to achieve these things. But there is another quadrant that will need to have a hand in how things happen, because there's one resource that we all need if we're going to live the life of our dreams. And that resource is time, because without time we have nothing. So our aim should be to ensure we have as much time as possible to attain and live that life of our dreams. And how do we do this? On to the next section. See, the only way we can increase the time we have to do these things is by taking care of the vehicle that decides not only how much time we have, but more importantly, when our time is up. And by vehicle, I mean our body. You've probably heard it said that your body is a temple. Your body is all you have. In fact, don't take care of your body and you'll soon find out how scarce time is. The physical quadrant is the evergreen green vehicular quadrant. It's the thing that's going to take you places. It's like a car. You need your car to take you around and drive you to work to earn money to live. The bare minimum, you need to feed your car fuel, of course. If you don't, then you're going nowhere. But on top of this, you need to be maintaining your car so it lasts for as long as it can before you have to buy a new one. It's the same principle with your body, except you only get one body. You can't go and buy yourself a new body, at least not yet. So you better take good care of it. But it's not just the thing you take. It's not just the thing to take you around. It's the thing that's going to protect you. If there's trouble, every man should know how to defend himself physically if he needs to. The physical quadrant teaches you how to do this. And just as the kind of car and the state it's in can broadcast to people where you're at in life, your body can too. Drive a beat up old piece of crap and you'll get a certain reaction from people. Drive a clean, sexy sports car and you'll get quite another. So building a sexy body, that's here too. And just as the way you drive your car speaks volumes about your personality, timidly, reckless, confidently, the way you walk, stand and hold yourself will do the same. The physical quadrant will address this. So the physical quadrant is in charge of vitality, temperance, endurance, body strength, power, flexibility, posture, self-defense, attractiveness, grooming, style and fashion, physique and sleep. And specifically it's tasked with things like building a beautiful masculine body. It is in charge of dressing like a celebrity, optimizing your diet, winning friends and women with strong body language and lots more. So you have the emotional quadrant, the mental quadrant and the physical quadrant. You have the excitable and emotional quadrant, listing all the fun stuff he wants to do. You have the mental quadrant, calming it down and making final decisions. And then you have the physical quadrant as the thing that's going to take you where you want to go. Now you just need some travel companions to share all this with. And that's where our final quadrant comes in. So on to the next section. After a sip of this. So, if the body is the vehicle, the mind is the driver, the heart is the kid shouting where he wants to go, then this quadrant is the people you share the journey with. Beautiful, eh? That's right, the socio-emotional quadrant is anything to do with other human beings, those you know and love, as well as those you'll never meet. And not just human beings, anything with a pulse, in fact, on land, in the air, and in the sea. The socio-emotional quadrant will take care of the relationships with the people and animals you meet on your journey, as well as those you'll never meet. I should put again, as well as those you'll never meet. And not just humans and animals, all life forms, anything that grows and breathes, the trees, the flowers, the earth itself. Indeed, this quadrant is tasked with leaving your world better than how you found it. The socio-emotional quadrant is the warm, orange, social bonding quadrant. It's the one with the passion to serve, to protect and to love. As human beings, we are social creatures and the capacity to want to connect with those other life forms around us. It's the quadrant that wants someone to love romantically. It's the one that loves family. It's the one that loves animals. It's the one that wants to meet people and make friends. It's the one that wants to smell the flowers. It's the one that wants to help people. It's the one that wants to take care of the planet. It's the good guy. It's the ultimate travelling companion that everyone and everything wants to be around and to love. So the socio-emotional quadrant deals with all things love, romance, family, friendship, sex. It's the domain of brotherhood, networking, community, courtesy, gentle manners, charity, justice, teaching and coaching. And specifically, it teaches you how to have better relationships, how to attract women and or keep them, how to have better sex, how to serve the community and make the world a better place, and tons more. So there you have it. 4 quadrants, all with a job to do, all balanced, all taking care of many things, and all need taking care of them. I can see the sun just starting to appear on my head here. The sun just coming over the house here. And that job is yours. Because take care of the quadrants and they'll take care of you. And on to the conclusion. And there you have it. That's my 4 quadrant philosophy. Years in the making and released for the first time. The point of me telling you about this wasn't to impress you. The point was to try, ultimately, to help you, as I said before. I wouldn't have gone to all this trouble to tell you if I didn't think it could really help you. Remember, I created this to help me, and it certainly did that and then some. This is the system I use every day. And because I truly think it could help you, and it's because I truly think it could help you that I'm releasing this methodology for the first time today, so please use it wisely. But this post was just the preview. The tool I've added below is the money. It's the blurb above. If the blurb above was the philosophy behind all of this, then the tool down below is the actual meat and potatoes. Down below, as in down below on the blog post. The tool I've added below is the Monalto Value Score Sheet. It's free for you to download, and it will put everything I've spoken about above into context. It's a tool that once you start using it will start giving you some answers as to why things haven't been working out for you. I'm telling you, when you man score yourself for the first time, it will be like a cloud has lifted. And armed with this information for the next article in our Monalto Value System Primer series, we'll start breaking down all the elements that make up each quadrant and how you can start to grow and improve each one. And the next article starts with the emotional quadrant. We'll look at exactly what it's comprised of, and I'll give you some ways you can start to really hone in on these weak points and start improving yourself. You won't want to miss that, but without further ado, allow me to present the Monalto Value Score Sheet. Okay, and then underneath that on the blog post is where you can actually download this tool, and it is very good. It basically it puts into context everything I've just spoken to you about on the blog post. It's an exercise, it's a tool you can use every day, and it will allow you to score yourself and see where you are weak and what needs to be addressed if you want to progress in life. Very, very good. But armed with that information, the next blog post will start to go into much more depth in the 4 quadrants. So the next article will be the emotional quadrant. I'll speak to you about how it's comprised, exactly the virtues, the 6 virtues within that quadrant, and the things within that, the elements and the modules within those virtues, which will allow you to progress. Okay, so that is the article. Okay, so I've taken you right through from start to finish. Okay, I'm just going to read through my notes here, so if you want to. So if you're watching this on YouTube after the event, click on the link you see on this video now. Okay, so if you're on YouTube right now, if you're watching this after the event, click on the link you see in the video. It's going to take you to the blog post where you can download the tool. Okay, if you're listening on the podcast, make sure you go over to the blog post to pick up these goodies. There should be a link on the blog post homepage, the podcast homepage. If you can't see the link here, go over to skochy.com. That's SKOCHY.com, and click the link at the bottom for the blog, and you'll find the latest post. Okay, at this point we would normally do a Q&A, but because this blog is very new, we haven't really got enough members yet to start calling in and making questions, asking questions and answers. So, but this is where that section will be. Okay, that's me. Thanks for watching or listening. Thanks for being part of the adventure, and I'll see you again soon for another episode of From 0 to 5 Zeros at Skochy.com. Skochy Prosperity. This has been Skochy on Skochy TV and Skochy Radio, coming to you through Facebook Live today. Go and like the video on Facebook, leave a comment, give it a thumbs up on YouTube, read the blog post, take the steps and get today's bonuses. Take action! And I'll see you again soon for another episode of From 0 to 5 Zeros.